Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Mike Gravelin coming to you from Chicago as usual, and they will not behave. They will not behave in court. I'm trying to do other things. I'm trying to do other things, but they just keep doing stuff that I have to share. I just do. All right, we got some updates today. We of course we're going over Judge Simpson to see Mr. Bloom and how his hearing went. I didn't see most of it. I saw bits of it, so feel free to fill us in the chat. I also can't hear much of that, but it's still fascinating. You don't need to hear much to see what's going on. I've got an update on anger management. And we have one more visit to our good new friend, Judge Jesse Lall, who I think by virtue of this has already qualified for her own playlist. So let's get it started, shall we?
I don't want you to tell me what Tiffany said. What was her reaction though after she ended up?
She said, keep on with or y'all gonna keep being me.
So where did she go?
She went like, no way. She found that she had a very big one. She went let go.
Where did she go after?
Nowhere.
I mean, did she go into a bedroom?
No. She had a very much to top her. He went that room. I thought she did it, but no, he went let go.
She lay down on the couch.
He was hungry like this.
And they were both.
Okay, a little background for those of you. I know a lot of you were over there because I saw you in the chat. But for those of you who weren't over there, this is a hearing on Mr. Bloom's case. It's been going on all day. It's hard to understand the witness. This ridiculous mask and everything makes it so hard to see and or hear. Do not worry. I that's why I cut most of it. Well, that and the fact that I didn't see most of it. I'm sure there's more good stuff. But at some point I have to do other things. Anyway, don't worry. It gets good, and it's very clear.
Both laying on the couch.
Yeah, she had on top of the front, but he was over like that.
Did she say anything to you?
No.
And what did you do then?
No, not gonna know.
What happened after that? Did everybody just act normal again? Or?
No, I don't know. See,
I'm sorry?
nothing normal.
Where did you go back to your bedroom, go to sleep?
No.
Where did you go?
How?
The real show here is Mr. Bloom in the orange, in the top right square, but in the bottom left of the top right square. Not really the testimony, which is basically inaudible.
I said I did not, and I told my neighbor. I didn't tell him about the radar.
So you went out. I'm sorry, I don't understand you. I'm sorry, you said you went to the neighbor?
No, the neighbor came by.
The neighbor knocked on your door?
I'm on the patio. He did this. Came on my patio.
And what did you do?
I didn't tell him everything. I was scared. I know him.
You don't think you said anything to the neighbor after what you've been through and
I was scared. He was scared.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That is not going to happen. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish that. The next hearing that we have, your client's going to be in the jail. He'll be watching it. That is not going to hit. I have let him go. I let him go forward. While Mr. Brown has been testifying now, I've counted 8 different times that he's tried to interrupt or made some type of comment regarding Mr. Brown's proceeding. I'm not having it. So we're going to try to finish this the best we can, but he's not going to be permitted for the continuation of this in the courtroom. Go ahead, Mr. Killowald, you may continue. And if he keeps it up, he's leaving now. He's out. Take him. Set him up on something on Zoom so he can watch the continuation. I apologize, Mr. Brown. We're going to have to break again so that they can put him on something with Zoom down in the jail so that I'm going to at least let him watch it. Court 14A will stand in recess.
Hi, this is Frankie with the Sovereign Citizen Patrol,
I
and
like
I'd
how
like
he's
to
turning
remind
off.
you to please hit like and subscribe, or I'll be personally offended.
I had someone on.
Okay, we're visiting Judge Lall real quick here. We've got a couple other ones. We will go back to that hearing at the end.
iPhone. I do not know who that is. If you'd like to
Daryl
identify
Davenport.
yourself.
Daryl Davenport. Daryl
Attorney,
Davenport.
Mr. Davenport?
The court gave me a public defender.
Who is it?
Mr. Jackson, I think that was his name.
Mr. Mark Jackson is a private attorney.
Well, I haven't talked to him.
When was the attorney appointed?
Month before last.
Did you speak to the public defender's office and see if you qualified for their services?
Yes, ma'am. I was in court.
Judge Jesse is not digging the situation, and it's awesome.
At the time I was present.
Okay. Mr. Davenport is position 3 on the Orca B final plea calendar. All right. He did not appear at the initial calendar call, or he did not respond when his name was called.
Ma'am, I didn't know how to use it. It was on mute.
I'm not IT.
Well, first time I've ever used Zoom.
If you don't know how to use Zoom, then you need to come down to the courthouse next time. And
Okay,
don't
well.
use
Remember, you look marvelous.
I ordered you to go. I told you I wouldn't be giving you any breaks on that you.
Okay, this is a case. The first video on it I titled "Anger Management." Mr. Ferris is and Ms. Smith here are, I don't know. There's some sort of custody hearing for their children. They fail at every turn. The last time they were ordered to go into treatment, neither one of them did it, and not dye their hair, and it looks like they both did. I don't know that, but I'm just saying visually, to me, it looks like it.
You needed to go to inpatient. You and Mr. Ferris both.
Yes, ma'am.
No ifs, ands, or buts. The state's paying for it. You have no excuse. You're not working. You're living in a hotel. At least you could spend the next 90 days in a place with a roof over your head and food in your tummy and addressing the drug problem.
Yes.
So when are you going to go?
As soon as there's a bed availability.
That's right. That's a good answer. Mr. Hardy, what's the deal with your client?
The service plans were filed yesterday. This morning, I was able to review about 2/3 of the plan with my client. I was able to go over the rest in the breakout session. I think.
Poor John Hardy. He is really trying here, but he is just struggling, stumbling over his words, not because he's stupid, but because his clients have just put him in an awful position. He cannot talk his way out of it. It's awkward.
I have a few minor objections, but I think I'm about as ready as I can be.
You're not going to have room for any objections for your client, Mr. Hardy, because your client was also ordered to an inpatient program, and unless they're holding inpatient services in a vehicle, Mr. Ferris has also failed to comply with the court's order.
Your Honor, there's one place in the service plan where it refers to following a psychiatrist's recommendation. He had a psychological evaluation in the Guadalupe County case. I believe that's a typo. His psychological evaluation specifically said he did not need a psychiatric evaluation. So
I'm not worried about his psychiatric. I'm worried about his inpatient. I'm worried about the drug use. I'm not worried about parenting programs, attending AANA. I'm not worried about any of that stuff, and I won't be until they go to their inpatient program. That's the first step of many, but if they don't take that first step, they're not going to get where they're headed in the first place. So I believe I also said at the last hearing that if they didn't go to their inpatient, their visits will stop. So Ms. Smith and Mr. Ferris will have no access to their children until they get through their inpatient program. So let's talk about those plans of service. I'll go ahead and make them an order of the court. But if the parents, if Ms. Smith and Mr. Ferris do not enter into and complete a 90-day inpatient program, their next hearing will be a trial on the merits. I don't know how more clear I can be. I thought I was pretty clear at the last hearing. Ms. Smith, what part of that do you not understand?
I understand all of it, ma'am.
Mr. Ferris, what part of that do you not understand?
I understand all of it.
Good. Okay. Now, if you don't want to go to an inpatient program, you don't have to. You don't have to at all. Talk to your attorneys about some paperwork that you can sign, and you won't have to worry about parenting children. You can go on and party and use all the drugs you want. But if you want to be a parent and you're going to be in my court, you're going to complete an inpatient program. So.
Okay. Oh, yeah. He just dropped off the call. I cut it off. That went on for a while, but I cut it off there. Other than that, it wasn't too crazy. But there's your update on anger management. I think that's the third video I've done on that situation now. But they don't seem to be improving. I don't know. I'm not optimistic for them. Okay. And we're back. So they take a break and then they come back and now we've got Mr. Bloom in the jail. It continues to be difficult to pick up the testimony, but really the best thing here is the handcuff charades that are going on the entire time.
All right, sir, please take the stand. And we're back on the record in the case of the People versus Bloom. Pursuant to the court's instructions, Mr. Bloom has been removed from the physical courtroom. He is present and can hear these proceedings via Zoom at a location in the jail. We have, so the record is also clear, we have muted Mr. Bloom. So,
something like
Mr.
that.
Killawald, you may continue.
Mr. Brown, I don't have that many questions left. Just a couple things. When your lower area you claim was injured by my client grabbing on, correct?
Yes,
Now, did they ask you to seek medical attention?
yes,
Did you go to the hospital?
no,
Did they ask you to do a SANE kit?
what's that?
Well, please ask me that. It's like for sexual.
No,
You refused it. You didn't do that.
no, they didn't ask me anything like that.
That poor guard.
Now my client claims when Tiffany was living there, did you see anybody take advantage of Tiffany by offering her drugs or alcohol?
No,
Did you see anybody make sexual tapes?
no,
No, you didn't see any of that?
no,
You were there most of the time?
I'm the opposite.
You're retired?
Yes,
You said the last you saw Tiffany and Jeffrey, they were laying on a couch. But you said did it look like was preventing her from getting off the couch?
there's a mom around her like this.
Was she kicking or saying anything? Let me know.
No, she just, she wasn't talking to her.
And you said the gun was never pointed at you, correct?
No appointment. No appointment.
And this may seem like a dumb question, but did you take seriously his threats that he was going to kill you?
Yes, because I didn't know him.
And what do you know what happened to the gun eventually? If you know anything.
That's the way the camera was. was on the refrigerator, and it was under the bread on top of the refrigerator. The police went to the camera, I looked at the camera, and the police found that it was on the bread on top of the refrigerator.
And you were there when the police found the gun on?
No, they didn't find it.
Okay, I thought you just said.
No, I said they were looking for it, they couldn't find it, and I couldn't find it. But the next day, we discovered it under the bread on top of the refrigerator.
Okay, who discovered the gun?
Our neighbor upstairs, he wants the bread, and we called, we see there was no bread.
So your neighbor from upstairs came down and found it in the cabinet?
No, on top of the refrigerator, not cabinet, no, the refrigerator, not cabinet.
I don't need to confuse you, but I'm
No,
confused.
I'm not.
Originally, the gun was put in the cabinet.
Originally, he put it in.
Who, if you know, who put the gun on the refrigerator?
I don't know who was in there, but I know I saw him put it in the cabinet.
Okay.
So I don't know who moved it to the refrigerator.
Did you have any lasting injuries with your bottom area?
No, and so far,
You're okay now?
yeah.
Okay. And just, it appears from the police report that either you or Tiffany didn't call the police until like 6 or 7 hours later, that around 11 o'clock that night. Did you have any decision into waiting to call the police?
Yeah, not waiting to call. I was telling the phone to call because she go up on her. She didn't want to go outside. She didn't want to have nothing to do with it.
Why didn't you call the police?
She had to be the one to really follow her. Well, I don't know. We didn't get together since they have to go.
There we go.
That's why I don't talk to her. And I'll talk to her too. And we decided, and the neighbor, when he found out what we had,
I don't even want to know what he was trying to convey there.
we talked to him too, and we all go together. And we did.
But you feel like you were violated, correct?
Yeah.
And so
We disrespected anything.
So my question then is, why
I was ashamed.
why wouldn't you call?
Because I was ashamed that don't say that happened to me like that. But I met her, I said, we gonna start our plan and do this and so we did.
And then when you called the police, you made statements, correct?
Yeah.
And did you,
They took the first one room, they took me in another room, in my house.
did you, if you recall, did you talk to the police on the, like 2 days later on the 24th? Did they come back and talk to you?
Yeah, they tried, to go to the hospital the next day, but she wouldn't go.
Okay, and they advised you should go too,
Yeah,
right?
they said you get infected. No, that, I don't want to go and explain this, what happened. There was some pretty shock I just couldn't do it.
So, one last question. That day that you claim, that you testified Tiffany was raped, had she been doing alcohol or drugs?
No,
She appeared normal to you?
she just woke up. She wasn't doing anything. She had just waking up and came out the room. He was doing it. Mr. Moon went to heaven.
So all during this time, you're saying the only one that's drinking is Mr. Bloom?
After that, after.
I think I understood that one.
I left, she went to bed.
One last question. Did not Mr. Bloom go and buy Tiffany, either a gallon or half a gallon? Hold on, let me think. 5-star vodka?
I don't know his name, how he is. I don't know the name of the doctor, but I know he bought a half a gallon with him.
And then he asked you to drive him to his dad's
Yeah, when
place?
he bought a fifth of vodka in a plastic bottle, she was still asleep.
Okay, when you drove Mr. Bloom to his dad's high-rise retirement apartment, is that where you went?
No, I dropped him off. There, she didn't say who lived there.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And so when you dropped them off, what did you do, just drive back to your apartment?
That's it. That's why I talked to what we gonna do.
And you didn't think of going to the police at all?
Yeah, I did, but I had talked about it. Since he was crying, I had to talk to people every time we want to do this.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions.
Any redirect?
Just briefly, Mr. Brown, did I understand you correctly when you said that you got back to the apartment? Did you say she was crying?
She was like, she told me about man, I've been thinking about it. I've been hearing the basics.
Okay. And so you
Okay.
had to.
All right.
discuss.
Stop for one moment. Can you get them to take, I don't want to take his papers from him, but he can't be putting things in front of the camera.
He was trying to show
It might actually be a trifold.
me question, Judge, not that he didn't want to see me.
No, I understand that, but he can't be broadcasting in that way. He's,
I will see him very shortly after. the end.
all right. Mr. Reiser, you may continue. I'm sorry.
So you discussed it with Tiffany and talked to your neighbor and then made the decision to report it to the police. Okay.
Yes.
And you said you were ashamed. What did you mean by that?
Only.
You said when Mr. Kellogg was questioning you that you were ashamed. Did I?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you mean by that?
Okay, so through all of this stuff I've seen of this guy is the first time I sort of agreed with him, although I'm not in that room. I can't hear anything either, but I presume they can. Nonetheless, this is good. Judge Simpson is not buying it.
Happy that day, so like that happened.
You know, I don't even interrupt my client saying he can't hear.
Oh, I think he can hear just fine. He was able to hear everything. And
Okay.
Deputy, can you hear the proceedings? Yes. So it's part of his game. Go ahead, Mr. Reiser.
It was shameful.
Shameful. And you ultimately made the decision to report what happened to you and what happened to Tiffany.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions.
All right. Mr. Brown, thank you very much. You may step down, sir.
And you and I know we've been discussing definitely, I do want to represent for the record, Tiffany Blaisdell is here, Officer Phillips, Deputy Phillips is here, and those would be the two additional witnesses that I would call.
All right.
Bloom is still
You know,
going.
just for the record, based on what I've heard today, I mean, obviously my client is in great disagreement with everything. I believe I was properly prepared, but I may go down to the jail in the next day or so. And I would ask for a continuance. Well, I respect Mr. Brown's testimony. I think that this case, a lot of it's going to rest on Ms. Blaisdell's testimony. So again, I will endeavor to go see my client and try to work through things.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do, and kind of signal this to council. I'm going to grant the adjournment. I have indicated that on the continuation of this, should Tiffany not be available for whatever reason, the defendant will remain in custody until she presents herself to the court, because she is here today. And because this is a request of the defense, I would further indicate that whatever date we set, my order that the defendant has in essence forfeited his right by his behavior today to be in the courtroom. He will appear in this same fashion. So you can then, Mr. Killawall, direct your preparation of the testimony that you'd like to take, understanding that your client will not be next to you.
Your Honor, you made your decision. All I would respectfully ask is if I can talk to my client and I believe I can rehabilitate him before the next hearing, would the court at least give him a shot at being, I really need his witness.
Oh, I feel bad for this defense attorney right now. The thing is all of this bad behavior was happening behind him. Meanwhile, he's questioning a witness. And for those of you who haven't done it, that absorbs your brain. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. You can't babysit a client that's 20 feet behind you and think, how am I going to elicit the testimony I want from this witness? It just doesn't work. And this guy's really trying. I feel for him. Judge does too.
Blaisdell, Ms. Blaisdell, I really need him next to me, whether he's writing questions or not, but I will try and rehabilitate him as far as cleaning outbursts.
I will entertain any requests that you have at a later time, but Mr. Kilowalt, so that the record is clear, from the very beginning, I gave the defendant warnings, and that was after numerous times that he was interrupting the proceedings. I gave him 1, 2, let him know that the next one that he was out. And even at that point, I didn't throw him out of the courtroom. I had the deputies take him back so that you could have a conversation with him. He comes back in and interrupts not only you, he interrupts the court proceedings while Mr. Brown is testifying. And then as Ms. Reiser is trying to address the court on something not related to the test, he's interrupting her. And I'm not going to have it. So certainly you may make the argument, but I wanted to be clear that that's not the way I run this courtroom. And I'm not going to let any defendant interfere with these proceedings in this fashion. So if you believe that you can rehabilitate him and can assure the court after you've spoken with him, then fine. Otherwise, he will be appearing right now. Any adjourn date, he will be appearing in this fashion.
See, judge is a softie. He's going to let him back into court, but he does put it on the attorney. It won't last. He's going to be back in court for 10 minutes, and the same thing's going to happen. But he's going to do it because the defense attorney approached him the right way.
I have not set a new date. Ms. Rice, I hate to bifurcate things or even break it up even more. With your next civilian witness,
We can
Tiffany,
have an earlier date. The deputy was the one that wasn't available on October
8,
11th.
that's what I was wondering.
I can separate, I mean, we can do the R&L on a different day.
Right. I mean, I'm not so much concerned about that. What I want to make sure that there's an opportunity to have her back.
Yeah.
So,
She's here. Do you want to give a date and I'll have her?
I would do it. For a firm date, I would do October, but you're not available except.
Judge, I have a friend in court. It's a half-hour interview at 10:30. Maybe I can get somebody to cover me. Is there a chance we could do it in the afternoon, or is that not possible? No?
What about October 4th?
4?
Yeah, that's on Tuesday.
Oh,
October.
okay. Okay, so I could do an October 4th in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I'll get somebody to cover a sentencing for me. That's fine.
That may even work for the R&L too, if you want to hear both of them.
Yes, my client would.
It would call it.
Okay, if you let my staff know, right now I will be looking at just trying to handle the one, but I'll set them both at that time.
I don't know if it's going to take that much time, quite frankly.
I didn't think this one would either. So
Well, October 4th at what time?
at 1 p.m.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Would that work for the?
If Deputy Phillips isn't available, we can have him.
Pardon?
If Deputy Phillips is not available on October 4th, I'll have Deputy Andrews in.
Okay, fantastic. Or if,
That works for the victim, and then I'll also have Phillips and Don here on the R&L.
right, and if we need to finish it up, if deputy needed to come back on, I can give you another date. I mean, I can go to the 11th if his testimony would work better that day, depending on how you want to do that. I just want to get her before the court as soon as I can.
Sure. So October 4th in person, what time?
October 4th, in person for some of us, 2022, 1 p.m. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. A little while I'll come down and see you.
And you have 9 and 10 that were admitted, Judge, do you want to keep those or do you have to take?
No, you may have those. All right. Bond will continue as denied. 1278. Thank you, folks. Order standing brief recess.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. Jeffrey Bloom, I think is his name. I'm not sure. Mr. Bloom. I'll call him Mr. Bloom because I'm not sure. He can't behave himself. Who's our guy? Anger management there, whatever. He can't control himself. Nobody in Judge Jesse's courtroom can seem to behave themselves, but she sticks it to him right away. It's beautiful. Oh, this guy, the guy this morning had a novel excuse for having crack in his system. I mean, we're all over the place. Bad behavior all over the place. What's Law Talk with Mike supposed to do? But record it and share it. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate it. I will see you soon.